This market offer for the power bills up around 9% potentially. It's kryptonite ahead of an election. You would have to be urging your team to back further energy rebates, wouldn't you?
Well, Kieran, this is just another body blow for everyday Australians who are already struggling with mortgages that have gone through the roof, their repayments, the increase in prices on food, insurance, and now again, energy price increases because the Labor Party's been pursuing an energy policy that hasn't replaced capacity as they've been withdrawing from the market. So it's actually, unfortunately for everyday Australians, like emblematic of the failure of this government to get their policy settings right around addressing cost of living. I noticed Chris Bowen's commentary before the break, pointing to international issues. Well, get real, mate. The problem is here because of this Labor government's decision-making that the regulator is now pushing up the price for everyday Australians and businesses, and you're going to continue to see manufacturers go to the wall, households continue to struggle because Labor is getting the policy settings right. So it's like,
They're absolutely struggling.
Yes.
So is it time then, so should the coalition... I know there's the economic management question. Obviously, that is something you want to, campaign on. But when people are hurting so much at the moment, and business, is it time to maybe extend that energy rebate? Surely there'd be a lot of your backbenchers keen for you to do that.
Well, we want to see Australians supported not just in the here and now, but to actually have an economy that's strong enough for them to provide for their families and to grow a secure financial future for themselves over coming decades, and to continually be putting band-aids on bullet wounds, as this Labor Party seems to want to do, fails to get to the actual nub of the problem. You have to address the policy crisis that caused this problem instead of continuing to try and mop up the mess that you have literally created over the last 3 years. And so, of course, Labor wants us to start talking about, energy package relief for everyday Australians and for small businesses, because they don't want to address the fact that their own policy failures have brought us to this place, Kieran. And I don't want us to be sleepwalking into, energy relief packages without the Labor Party admitting that they got it wrong, and this will keep happening if they don't turn the ship around and change their energy policies. Because until they do
You've said that it's the last
exactly
2.5,
what's
3 years.
going to happen. It's exactly what's going to continue to happen.
There is a greater structural question here, though, that's been many, many years in the making. You would agree, wouldn't you, that it's ludicrous that we're paying high or some of the highest gas prices in the region, given our supplies of the stuff. It's ludicrous.
Well, it's ludicrous we're shutting down coal-fired power stations when we've got nothing to replace them with. It's ludicrous in a country as rich and prosperous and well-endowed as Australia with natural resources that we've got some of the highest electricity prices in the world. It just beggars belief, Kieran. And I guess that's the disappointing thing that we're seeing. Big companies moving their operations offshore where they can get a better price for energy. We're seeing small businesses go to the wall, and we're seeing households crippled with energy price bills. So at the end of the day, you've got to address the structural problem.
In terms of, it's not just the last couple of years. We're talking about gas supplies, exports, some gas now being sold back to us from Japan, that we've exported. It's crazy.
With those long-term contracts that, become sovereign risks if we're suddenly ripping up contracts with other nations. There are a suite of issues, but front and centre is the pursuit of 100% renewables policy by this government, by state Labor governments around the country, and that has left us in this situation. I just find it incredible, and that's why our plan around including nuclear energy into our future decadal mix on energy provision is so transformative and visionary, because it's not only going to set us up to 2050 with our net zero targets, but it will be powering our nation and our industrial base into the next century. So that's the sort of thinking and policy foresight we need heading into this next federal election, not the weak excuses from Chris Bowen that we're hearing today.
Are you worried about the future of the alliance, given I know you're a strong supporter of the US-Australia alliance and relationship, but there'd be many everyday Australians wondering what on earth is going on here?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, well, that's what happens when you can't pick up the phone. You refuse to get on a plane and form a relationship with someone you've actually publicly said you're scared of. And that's what our Prime Minister has done on the election of President Trump. We've now got our steel and aluminium industries subjected to American tariffs. There's another round of tariff negotiations come April 2. We're very concerned that agriculture will be on the list. We've got in excess of $3 billion beef industry there.
But no country's been exempt. So even if we did show up at the Oval Office, is it a stretch to say that would have been pivotal, because no country's got an exemption? None of the nations that have been there to visit.
Well, I think what President Trump has made clear is that it is about relationships. The strong advocacy and strong relationship of the former coalition government was able to achieve an exemption previously. And what we've seen here from the Prime Minister is his lack of experience, his inexperience around foreign affairs isn't just evidence in this disastrous outcome for Australia, but in a raft of national security, geopolitical, geostrategic failures and lack of missed calls, if you like, making the wrong calls on those sort of topics for the last 3 years that have left us weaker as a nation. And I think it's not going to hurt, Kieran, right? It can only help if Anthony Albanese does that. But, we've always got to stand up for our national interest.
It could hurt if you end up having a meeting like President Zelensky had. That didn't go too well. You'd want it to go well.
That didn't go too well, but, a couple of weeks later, we're actually starting to talk ceasefires in that region. So they may be method in the approach. I think we've got to be all on Team Australia. We've got to be making sure that not just our steel manufacturing and our alumina and aluminium manufacturing is protected, but also, concerningly, this next round of tariff negotiations with the US on April 2 doesn't include agriculture. And I want to see both the Prime Minister...
You're saying that we need to be on Team Australia. The government says that your team is actually... you're not on Team Australia at the moment because you're defending the Trump approach when it's the US and Donald Trump that are slapping the tariffs on.
No one's defending the US putting the tariff on.
Oh, we've lost
what that tariff application shows is the Prime Minister's failure to secure the exemption. We all want the exemption. There's only one Prime Minister that's actually failed to achieve it, and that's Anthony Albanese. That's our criticism.
Bridget McKenzie, thanks so much for your time. We'll catch you soon. We'll talk to you soon.